Good morning, this is Tommy Lackey, and today's January 28th, and I want to do a quick review of the breadth after all the crazy action we've seen in recent days. And I really think yesterday might be an important day. Let's start off here with the new high, new low differential chart, and we see that the new highs continue to stay very low at 9, but the new lows did not expand yesterday. And that was actually kind of good news. If we don't get an expansion on a continued sell-off like that, it tells us that we're just really not seeing a plow down by the bears at the moment, and we're just not quite there yet. Doesn't mean it can't continue to expand, but it's a good start. Now, sticking with the longer term measures, we move over here to the advanced decline line. You can see here it's taken a pretty big hit, but again, we're still sitting with higher highs and higher lows on this chart, and we're coming up to the trend line but have not broken at this point. So again, we're still not sitting in a position here that is overly concerning, although has been pretty scary to sit through for many. Here on the McClellan summation chart, we can see that it's still rolling over after crossing late last week and has not turned back up at all. So that's still a concern, but you move down here to the oscillator and you see we're starting to getting to points that have been pivot lows in the past. A lot of people are saying, well, it can certainly get lower, and it can, as you can see over here. But that does not have to happen in this market for us to get a tradable bottom. Again, I think that goes back to whether you believe this is the start of something really big on the downside or whether this is just a pullback. And so far, my evidence suggests to me that we're still in the pullback mode and might see one more shot or attempt higher. Doesn't mean we'll make new lows, but I still feel that the bulls will put an attempt in before we really see some stronger downside. Now, one of my favorite charts, the moving average breadth chart, is starting to get closer to that setup we talked about this weekend in the strength in numbers report. And as you'll see here, the percent over the 20 SMA is down to 24%. Once it gets below 20 and turns back up above it, that's our signal. As long as the 50-day stays somewhere in the range of this 40% or higher, and the 200-day stays above the 60% area, as you can see it has done since 2012. Now, if these longer terms start breaking those levels, then we'll get a little more worried, but if we can get a pivot low here pretty soon, that could be a very nice buying opportunity. A similar picture here on the breadth thrust indicator shows us that we are starting to get to the oversold levels, the first dotted line at 40%. However, it can go all the way down to the 30% line. But again, I stress, see how many times it has had a pivot low up higher, even above that line? So again, take this in conjunction with other indicators you're using, and don't always wait for that lowest low, because if you're in a short-term pullback, it's probably not going to happen. And as we move to our final chart, the percent days chart, you can see here that we got us a nice 90, I'm going to call it a 90% down day, even though it was 89.63 on the volume ratio. We'll call that a 90% down day. And that, as long as we are still in an uptrend that's intact, that has been a very good signal at or near lows. There are a couple that didn't work as well, but they have been very good signals, especially the 90% days have usually been within a few days of the lows. Now, one thing I'll stress, and I talked about this before, let me pull back here one more time and remind you that if we are in a larger turn down, if we're heading towards a worse time, those 90% days start to become very frequent. So if we get quite a few in a row, we'd be a little more worried about the fact that it's more of a topping signal maybe than a bottoming signal. But right now, they're still fairly sporadic, and they seem to be coming as we are hitting areas that would be a good pullback low. Okay, that should give you a quick overview of kind of how breadth turned out these last couple of days as we've been selling off. We discussed a lot of this in the Strength in Numbers report. If you did not get that, please email me to gtlackey@gmail.com. Include your stock Twitch or Twitter handle and just request the password. I'll be happy to send it to you, as I'm still in the beta version of building this out. So hopefully that'll give you a good idea of where we are, a little bit of evidence, and help you in trading today. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.